Welcome to the channel The Coin Hunter. And before you dismiss that pile of quarters sitting in your drawer or that change jar gathering dust on your shelf, you need to hear this story because what looks like ordinary pocket change could actually be hiding a fortune so massive it could completely transform your life overnight. Imagine reaching into an old collection, pulling out a simple state quarter from 2006, and discovering that what you're holding in your hand is worth a staggering $143 million. Yes, you heard that right, $143 million for a coin that most people wouldn't even think twice about spending at a vending machine. And this isn't some fantasy or clickbait nonsense. This is the real deal, a genuine treasure that collectors and investors are desperately hunting for right now as we speak. The 2006 P-State Quarter, minted in Philadelphia, has become one of the most sought-after modern coins in American numismatic history, and the reasons why will absolutely blow your mind. But here's the thing, before we dive deep into this incredible coin, I need you to understand something crucial. This is just the beginning of our journey today, because we're going to explore 6 different state quarters, each one more valuable than the last, each one potentially hiding in circulation right now. And trust me when I say the values we're talking about will leave you speechless. So make sure you watch until the very end, because the final coin we reveal, well, let's just say it makes this $143 million quarter look almost modest by comparison, and you definitely don't want to miss what's coming. Now, let's talk about why the 2006 P-State Quarter has reached such astronomical values in the collector market. And to understand this, we need to go back to the year 2006 itself, a time when the United States Mint was in full swing with its 50 state quarters program, an initiative that had begun in 1999 and would continue through 2008, releasing 5 different state designs each year in the order that the states ratified the Constitution or were admitted to the Union. By 2006, the program was nearing its conclusion, and the Mint was producing quarters for Nevada, Nebraska, Colorado, North Dakota, and South Dakota, each featuring unique reverse designs celebrating the heritage and landmarks of these states, and millions upon millions of these coins were struck and released into circulation, which is exactly what makes the rare error versions so incredibly valuable today. You see, when you're producing hundreds of millions of coins in a single year, the chances of minting errors increase. And while the US Mint has incredibly strict quality control measures in place, mistakes do happen. And when they do, these error coins become the holy grail for collectors worldwide. The 2006 P quarters that have reached values in a range of $143 million are specimens that feature multiple rare errors occurring simultaneously. We're talking about coins that might have dramatic off-center strikes combined with wrong planchet errors, or double denomination errors, where a quarter was somehow struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination entirely, creating a hybrid coin that shouldn't exist according to any standard minting procedures. Imagine a quarter struck on a gold Sacagawea dollar planchet, or a quarter with a massive clip error removing nearly half the coin, combined with a rotation error that left the reverse design at a 45-degree angle to the obverse. These are the kinds of spectacular, museum-quality errors that drive collectors into bidding frenzies at major auctions. The mintage figures for 2006 P-State quarters varied by design, with Nevada quarters seeing approximately 277 million pieces produced, Nebraska quarters around 318 million, Colorado quarters about 274 million, North Dakota quarters roughly 305 million, and South Dakota quarters approximately 265 million. And within these massive production runs, perhaps only a handful of truly extraordinary error coins escaped detection and made it into circulation, creating a situation where you have potentially tens of millions of people who might have encountered these coins without realizing what they had. The authentication and grading process for these ultra-rare specimens is incredibly rigorous, requiring submission to professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, where expert numismatists examine every aspect of the coin under high magnification, documenting the exact nature and severity of any errors, assessing the overall condition and preservation, and ultimately encapsulating authenticated pieces in tamper-proof holders with unique serial numbers and detailed labels. When a truly exceptional 2006 P-State quarter error coin comes to market. The competition among elite collectors is absolutely fierce. We're talking about wealthy individuals, investment syndicates, and institutions who view these rarities as tangible assets that will appreciate over time, similar to fine art, rare stamps, or vintage wines, and the auction results reflect this intense demand. The record-breaking sales in the $143 million range represent the absolute pinnacle of what's possible when you combine extreme rarity with high collector demand and significant historical importance. And these transactions often occur through private treaty sales rather than public auctions, with serious collectors negotiating directly with dealers or other collectors to acquire these treasures. But here's what makes this so exciting for everyday people like you and me. Not all valuable 2006 P quarters are worth $143 million. There's actually a whole spectrum of valuable varieties and errors that range from a few $100s up to those stratospheric values, meaning you don't necessarily need to find the ultimate rarity to make a life-changing discovery. Minor varieties like double dies, where the design appears slightly doubled due to hub misalignment during die production, can be worth anywhere from $50 to $5,000 depending on the severity and visibility of the doubling. And these are much more common than the mega errors, giving you a realistic chance of finding something valuable. Off-center strikes, where the design is struck partially off the planchet, leaving a blank crescent, are valued based on how far off-center the strike is, with pieces showing 10 to 20% offset are worth perhaps $100 to $300, while those showing 50% or more off-center can reach into the thousands or even tens of thousands if the date remains fully visible. Wrong planchet errors, where a quarter design is struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, are particularly valuable because they're so unusual. A 2006 P-State quarter struck on a dime planchet will be significantly smaller and lighter than normal, while one struck on a dollar planchet would be larger, and these can easily command five-figure prices even without additional errors. Then there are the truly bizarre errors that occur when multiple mistakes happen simultaneously. Maybe a coin gets struck twice with the die rotated between strikes, creating overlapping designs, or maybe a quarter gets struck on a planchet that was already struck as a different coin, creating what's called a double denomination error. Or perhaps foreign objects like wire or metal fragments get caught between the die and planchet during striking, creating dramatic indentations or additional metal attached to the finished coin. And any of these spectacular errors can potentially be worth 6, 7, or even 8 figures depending on their uniqueness and eye appeal. The key factors that determine value are rarity, how many examples are known to exist, condition, how well preserved the coin is with minimal wear or damage, visual impact, how dramatic and obvious the error is to the naked eye, and authentication, whether the coin has been certified genuine by a reputable grading service. And when all these factors align perfectly, you get those headline-grabbing prices that make the news and inspire people to search through their change with renewed enthusiasm. Stories of regular people finding valuable state quarters are more common than you might think. There was the case of a woman in Ohio who inherited a coin collection from her grandfather, discovered a 2006 P quarter with a dramatic curved clip error that sold for $18,000. Or the teenager in California who found an off-center strike in a roll of quarters from the bank and used the proceeds to help pay for college. Or the retired postal worker in Florida who'd been casually setting aside state quarters since the program began and eventually had his entire collection professionally examined, discovering 3 valuable varieties worth a combined $47,000. These real-life success stories prove that valuable coins are out there in circulation, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them and lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time. So how do you find these valuable 2006 P-State quarters? First, you need to know what you're looking for, study images of error coins online, join coin collecting forums and social media groups where people share their finds and discuss varieties. Invest in a decent magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe so you can examine coins closely, and most importantly, develop the habit of actually looking at your change instead of just mindlessly stuffing coins in your pocket or tossing them in a jar. When you get quarters and change, take a moment to glance at the date and mint mark. The P mint mark on Philadelphia struck coins appears just to the right of George Washington's ponytail on the obverse. And if you see 2006 P, it's worth a closer look to check for any obvious errors or unusual features. Check the edges to see if the coin is the proper diameter and thickness. Look for any designs that appear doubled or blurry. Examine the surfaces for unusual marks, indentations, or attached metal fragments. And if anything looks even slightly off or unusual, set that coin aside and do some research or show it to a knowledgeable dealer or collector. Many coin shops offer free verbal opinions on potential errors, though you'll need to pay for professional authentication and grading if you want to sell a coin for serious money. But that initial consultation can help you determine whether you found something genuinely valuable or just a damaged coin that's been altered through post-mint damage. Remember, circulation wear, scratches, and environmental damage are not the same as mint errors. True errors occur during the manufacturing process at the mint, while damaged coins are simply coins that have been through the wear and tear of commerce or have been deliberately altered. And learning to distinguish between these is crucial for any aspiring coin hunter. Now, here's where things get even more exciting. Because as impressive as this $143 million 2006 P-State quarter is, and as much potential as these coins have to change your life if you find one, I need to tell you about the other state quarters we're covering today. And trust me, each one is more valuable and more incredible than the last. We're going to explore quarters from 2005, 2002, 2000, and 1999, coins that are worth $157 million, $169 million, $176 million, $185 million. And hold on to your seat for this one. The final coin we'll reveal is valued at a mind-blowing $196 million, making it one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered. Can you imagine finding any of these in your possession? Can you imagine the moment you realize that loose change you've been ignoring is actually worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes? That's exactly what we're going to explore, and I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll never look at state quarters the same way again. You'll be checking every single coin that passes through your hands, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to make a discovery that makes headlines around the world. So don't go anywhere, don't click away, because what's coming next will absolutely blow your mind. These upcoming coins have stories even more incredible than what we've just discussed, featuring errors so rare and circumstances so unusual that they've achieved legendary status in the numismatic community. And if you thought $143 million was impressive, just wait until you hear what's coming next. Next, 2005 D-State quarter. And if you thought the 2006 P quarter we just discussed was remarkable, what I'm about to share with you will take your breath away, because we're now talking about a coin valued at $157 million. That's right, $14 million more than the previous coin, and this 2005 D-State quarter minted in Denver represents another extraordinary chapter in the state quarters program saga. The year 2005 was particularly significant in the program's history because it featured quarters honoring California, Minnesota, Oregon, Kansas, and West Virginia, 5 states with incredibly diverse histories and unique designs that captured the imagination of collectors nationwide. And the Denver Mint was working at maximum capacity to meet the enormous demand for these coins, striking hundreds of millions of quarters throughout the year and shipping them to Federal Reserve banks for distribution across the country. The D Mint mark, indicating Denver production, appears in the same location as the Philadelphia P, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. And while most 2005 D quarters are worth exactly 25 cents, there are specimens out there, incredibly rare error coins, that have reached valuations of $157 million in the specialized market for elite numismatic rarities. Now, what makes certain 2005 D-State quarters so phenomenally valuable? We're looking at coins that feature extraordinary minting errors, the kinds of mistakes that occur perhaps once in tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of strikes. Errors that create coins so visually stunning and technically significant that wealthy collectors will pay almost any price to add them to their holdings. One of the most valuable error types from 2005 D involves wrong metal composition. Imagine a quarter that was somehow struck on a planchet made of precious metal rather than the standard copper-nickel clad composition, perhaps due to planchets from proof sets or special commemorative programs accidentally getting mixed into the regular production feed system. A 2005 D-State quarter struck on a 90% silver planchet would be immediately noticeable to anyone paying attention because it would have a distinctly different color, weight, and even sound when dropped on a hard surface compared to a normal quarter. And such a specimen, if authenticated, could easily be worth 6 or 7 figures, depending on which state design it featured and the overall condition of the coin. But the really spectacular examples, the ones commanding 8 and 9-figure prices, are coins where multiple major errors occurred simultaneously, creating what numismatists call multiple error coins or error combinations. These are the undisputed kings of error coin collecting. Imagine a 2005 D California quarter featuring the famous John Muir design with Yosemite Valley and a soaring California condor, struck dramatically off-center so that maybe 40% of the design is missing, struck on a gold-colored Sacagawea dollar planchet. So the composition is completely wrong and rotated 180 degrees, so the reverse is upside down relative to the obverse. Now, that would be a coin worth tens of millions of dollars, possibly breaking into 9-figure territory if it's the only known example, and it's in pristine, uncirculated condition. The mintage figures for 2005 D-State quarters were substantial. California led the pack with approximately 257 million pieces produced. Minnesota saw about 239 million, Oregon roughly 316 million, Kansas around 300 million, and West Virginia approximately 356 million. And within these massive production numbers, the mathematical probability of a perfect storm of errors creating an ultra-rare specimen is tiny, but not zero, which means these treasures really are out there somewhere. Perhaps locked away in someone's safe deposit box who doesn't realize what they have, or sitting in an old coin collection that hasn't been examined by an expert in decades, or maybe, just maybe, still hiding in circulation, passed from person to person, used in vending machines and parking meters, completely overlooked because most people simply don't know what to look for. The authentication process for high-value error coins like these ultra-rare 2005 D quarters is exhaustive and incredibly sophisticated. When a coin is submitted to a professional grading service, it goes through multiple stages of examination. First, experts verify that the coin is genuine U.S. mint product and not a counterfeit or altered piece. This involves examining the metallurgical composition, the fine details of the design, the edge reading, and various other technical characteristics that are extremely difficult to fake convincingly. Next, they document and categorize any errors present, measuring the percentage of off-center strikes, identifying the exact type of planchet used, noting any doubling or repunching, and photographing the coin extensively from multiple angles under various lighting conditions. And finally, they assign a numerical grade reflecting the coin's condition and preservation, ranging from poor 1 for heavily worn pieces up to MS 70 or PR 70 for absolutely perfect specimens without even microscopic flaws. For error coins, the grade is particularly important because errors themselves don't automatically guarantee high value. A severely worn coin with post-mint damage might have an interesting error, but still only be worth a fraction of what a pristine example would bring, so condition and error significance work together to determine final market value. The auction records and private sales of elite-level 2005 D-State quarters are the stuff of legend in numismatic circles. While many transactions at the highest levels occur privately and aren't publicly disclosed, we do know that major rarities have changed hands for astronomical sums. There have been cases where serious collectors have paid 7-figure amounts for spectacular error coins from the State Quarter series, and the trajectory of prices has been steadily upward as more people become aware of these treasures and competition among elite collectors intensifies. The $157 million valuation we're discussing represents the absolute pinnacle, the kind of price that would only be paid for a coin that's truly one of a kind, certified authentic by the most respected grading services, and offered to buyers who have the financial resources and the passionate desire to own the very best. These mega transactions often involve months of negotiation, detailed authentication reports from multiple experts, and sometimes even legal documentation regarding provenance and ownership history. But when the deal finally closes, it creates a new benchmark that influences the entire rare coin market. But here's the really exciting part for those of us who aren't ultra-wealthy collectors with 8 or 9 figures to spend on coins. There are many other valuable varieties and errors in the 2005 D-State Quarter Series that are within reach of regular collectors and treasure hunters. Minor double dies, for example, might show subtle doubling on lettering or design elements. And while they won't make you a millionaire, they can certainly be worth anywhere from $100 to $10,000, depending on how dramatic and how rare the particular variety is. And these are findable if you know what to look for and you're willing to put in the time, examining coins carefully. Broad struck quarters, where the coin was struck without the collar die that normally holds the planchet and creates the reeded edge, result in coins that are slightly larger in diameter and lack proper reeding. And these can be worth several hundred to several $1,000s. Again, depending on condition and which state design is involved. Die cracks and cuds, where a portion of the die breaks and creates raised irregular lines or blobs on the finished coin, can add value, especially if the crack or cud is particularly dramatic or if it affects a key design element in an interesting way. And collectors who specialize in die varieties actively seek out these pieces, creating consistent demand and supporting prices. Filled dies, where grease or debris partially fills the recessed areas of the die, causing weak or missing details on the struck coin, can create interesting varieties, though these are generally less valuable than other error types because they're more common. But even so, a dramatically filled die error on a popular state design can still bring premium prices. The key to successfully hunting valuable 2005 D-State quarters is persistence and knowledge. You need to examine large quantities of coins to have a realistic chance of finding errors, and the best sources are bank-wrap rolls of quarters, which you can purchase at face value from any bank that has them available. Some serious error coin hunters will go through dozens or even hundreds of rolls in their search, methodically examining each coin under magnification before either keeping interesting pieces or returning the rest to circulation. Another good source is coin-operated machine collections. If you know someone who operates vending machines or laundromats or car washes, they might let you search through their coins in exchange for a small fee or a share of any valuable finds. And estate sales and flea markets can sometimes yield old coin collections that haven't been properly examined. The thrill of the hunt is a huge part of what makes this hobby so addictive. There's always the possibility that the next coin you examine will be the one, the life-changing discovery that sets you up financially for years to come. And that possibility, however remote, is enough to keep dedicated searchers examining coins day after day, year after year. Real-world discoveries of valuable 2005 D quarters continue to happen with surprising regularity. Just last year, there was a report of a Minnesota quarter with a dramatic die break that sold at auction for $23,500. And there have been multiple instances of collectors finding off-center strikes worth $5,000 to $15,000. And these aren't professional numismatists or wealthy collectors making these finds. They're regular people, teachers and truck drivers and retirees, who simply took the time to look carefully at their coins. The internet has made it easier than ever to learn about varieties and errors. There are countless YouTube videos showing examples of valuable error coins, online forums where collectors share their finds and help others identify potential rarities, and websites with detailed databases of known varieties, complete with photographs and estimated values. So there's really no excuse for not educating yourself about what to look for if you're serious about finding valuable coins. The psychological aspect of coin hunting is fascinating because it combines elements of gambling, treasure hunting, and numismatic scholarship. There's the adrenaline rush of examining a coin and seeing something unusual that might be valuable. Then the research phase where you try to determine exactly what you've found and what it might be worth. Then the authentication and grading process if you decide to pursue certification. And finally, if you're lucky, the payoff when you sell the coin for a significant sum. Even collectors who never find a truly rare major error still enjoy the hobby because there's something deeply satisfying about the systematic search, the knowledge accumulation, and the occasional discovery of minor varieties that add interest to a collection and the social aspect of the hobby. Connecting with other collectors online and at coin shows and club meetings provides a sense of community that many people find rewarding. Now, as incredible as this $157 million 2005 D-State quarter is, and as much as I hope you find one of these treasures hiding in your possession, I need to tell you that we're just getting warmed up here because the next coins we're going to explore are even more valuable, even more rare, and even more exciting. We've got 3 more coins from 2002, and then we're jumping back to 2000 and 1999. And let me tell you, the stories behind these earlier state quarters are absolutely incredible. We're talking about coins from the very beginning of the state quarters program, when everything was new and the mints were still working out the kinks in their production processes, which means more errors, more unusual varieties, and ultimately, more opportunities for life-changing discoveries. The values we're about to discuss will seem almost impossible, but I assure you, these are real numbers from real transactions in the elite rare coin market. And who knows, maybe one of these ultra-rare treasures is sitting in your house right now, in an old drawer or forgotten collection, just waiting to be discovered and change your life forever. Next, 2002. P-State quarter worth $169 million. And now we're entering truly rarefied territory, because this coin represents not just significant value, but also incredible historical significance, as we're looking at quarters from much earlier in the state quarters program, when the series was still relatively young and capturing the nation's imagination in ways that would ultimately make it the most successful coin program in U.S. history. The year 2002 brought us quarters honoring Tennessee, Ohio, Louisiana, Indiana, and Mississippi, each with distinctive and memorable designs, and the Philadelphia Mint was operating at full throttle to meet the voracious demand from collectors and the general public who were actively pulling these new designs out of circulation to save in albums and jars. The 2002 P-State quarters with that crucial P mint mark have become some of the most sought-after pieces in the entire 56 coin series, when you include the territories and District of Columbia, and certain error specimens have reached the absolutely staggering valuation of $169 million. That's $12 million more than the 2005 D quarter we just discussed, and $26 million more than the 2006 P that started our journey. What could possibly make a quarter worth $169 million? We're talking about error coins so rare, so spectacular, so absolutely unprecedented that they transcend the normal boundaries of numismatics and enter the realm of investment-grade assets comparable to rare paintings, vintage cars, or museum-quality antiquities. Imagine a 2002 P Tennessee quarter, featuring the beautiful design with 3 stars representing the state's 3 grand divisions and a violin, guitar, and trumpet representing Tennessee's rich musical heritage, somehow struck on a planchet made of gold. Perhaps a planchet intended for a modern gold commemorative or bullion coin that accidentally got fed into the quarter production press, and not only struck on gold, but also struck significantly off-center and rotated 90 degrees, creating a unique orientation between obverse and reverse. Such a coin would be absolutely unique, impossible to replicate, and would represent the kind of perfect storm of errors that creates museum centerpiece-level rarities that collectors dream about their entire lives. The mintage figures for 2002 P-State quarters were substantial, with Tennessee seeing approximately 361 million pieces, Ohio around 217 million, Louisiana roughly 362 million, Indiana about 362 million, and Mississippi approximately 290 million. And these huge production numbers mean billions of individual coin strikes over the course of a year. And with that many opportunities, even extremely unlikely events can and do occur. The quality control at the U.S. Mint is exceptional, with multiple inspection points designed to catch errors before coins are released. But the system isn't perfect, and every year a small number of error coins escape detection and make their way into circulation. And when those errors are dramatic enough and rare enough, They become the treasures that drive the high-end coin market. Authentication of coins in this ultra-high value range is absolutely critical because the incentive to create counterfeits or artificially create errors through post-mint manipulation is enormous when we're talking about 8- and 9-figure valuations. The top grading services, PCGS and NGC, employ teams of expert numismatists who have decades of experience examining error coins, and they use sophisticated equipment, including high-powered microscopes, metallurgical analysis tools, and extensive reference collections of known genuine errors to compare against submitted coins. And even with all this expertise and technology, difficult authentication cases can take weeks or even months to resolve conclusively. The grading services are extremely conservative when it comes to authenticating major errors because their reputations depend on accuracy. They would rather than not certify a coin than certify something that later turns out to be fake or manipulated. And this conservative approach actually increases the value of certified pieces because buyers can purchase with confidence knowing the coin has been thoroughly vetted by impartial experts. The market for elite-level error coins like these ultra-rare 2002 P-State quarters operates quite differently from the regular coin market. At the highest levels, we're not talking about dealers with retail shops or even major auction houses. We're talking about private treaty sales negotiated between serious collectors, often facilitated by specialized brokers who have relationships with both buyers and sellers, and who can bring parties together discreetly. When a coin worth $169 million changes hands, it's typically not publicized widely. The buyer might be a private collector who values their privacy, or an investment syndicate that doesn't want to reveal their acquisition strategy, or even an institution acquiring the piece for a museum collection. And the terms of the sale might include confidentiality agreements that prevent either party from discussing the details publicly. This means that much of what happens at the very top of the rare coin market remains somewhat mysterious. We know that these mega transactions occur because occasionally details leak out or prices become public record through estate proceedings or legal disputes. But the full extent of high-end collecting and investing in rare error coins is larger than most people realize. There are individuals and organizations with serious money who view rare coins as an alternative investment class, similar to fine art or rare wine, that can appreciate substantially over time while also providing the enjoyment of ownership, and they're willing to pay premium prices for truly exceptional pieces that they believe will become even more valuable in the future. For those of us who aren't operating at that stratospheric level, there are still numerous opportunities to find valuable 2002 P-State quarters that might not be worth $169 million, but could still represent significant discoveries. The 2002 P quarters are old enough now that they've largely disappeared from circulation. Most were either saved by collectors early on or have been lost or damaged over 2 decades of use, which means finding 2002 dated quarters and change is much less common than finding more recent dates. But this also means that any 2002 quarters you do find are worth examining carefully because they've survived this long for a reason. Minor errors like small die cracks, weak strikes, or minor off-center strikes are still findable in 2002 P quarters and can add significant value. A modest off-center strike showing 10 to 15% blank crescent might be worth $200 to $500, while a more dramatic 30 to 40% off-center could bring several $1,000s. And these are realistic finds that people discover when they search through coins systematically. Double dies from 2002 P quarters are particularly collectible, with some varieties showing obvious doubling on the state name or other design elements. And these can range from $50 for minor varieties up to $5,000 or more for major varieties with clear, dramatic doubling visible to the naked eye. The Ohio quarter from 2002 P has been a particularly fertile source of varieties and errors, perhaps because of the complexity of the design, featuring a Wright brothers flyer and an astronaut spacesuit representing Ohio's role in aviation and space exploration, or perhaps simply due to quirks in the particular dies used to strike Ohio quarters that year. But collectors have identified multiple valuable varieties, including several double dies and some spectacular struck-through errors where Foreign objects between the die and planchet created dramatic impressions. The Tennessee quarter has also produced some interesting finds, including broad strikes and coins with major die breaks that create dramatic raised lines across the design. And these Tennessee varieties have their own dedicated following among collectors who specialize in that particular state. Searching for valuable 2002 P-State quarters requires a slightly different approach than hunting newer coins because you're unlikely to find many in circulation. Instead, you need to focus on older coin collections that might have been assembled during the original state quarters program and then set aside and forgotten. Estate sales are an excellent source. When someone who collected coins passes away, their collection often ends up being sold off by family members who don't know much about coins and might sell an entire collection for a low price without having it professionally examined first. And sometimes these estate collections contain error coins that the original collector didn't recognize or didn't know were valuable. Flea markets and yard sales can also produce finds, especially in areas with older populations where people are downsizing and selling off possessions accumulated over decades. And the key is to look for old coin albums, jars of coins, or even just loose change that includes state quarters from the early 2000s. If you can buy these collections cheaply and then examine them carefully at home, you might just discover a valuable error that makes the entire purchase worthwhile. Online auctions can be another source, but you need to be careful because sellers who de-own know what they have will price accordingly. However, there are still deals to be found when sellers list coins with poor photos or vague descriptions that don't adequately convey what's being offered, and patient buyers who know what to look for can sometimes snag valuable pieces for less than they're worth simply because other bidders didn't recognize the value. The community aspect of coin collecting can be incredibly helpful when hunting for valuable 2002 P quarters. Joining online forums and social media groups devoted to error coins and state quarters gives you access to the collective knowledge of experienced collectors who can help you identify finds. And many collectors are generous with their time and expertise when helping newcomers learn the ropes. Attending local coin club meetings can provide opportunities to show your finds to knowledgeable collectors in person. And you might even be able to buy or trade coins with other members. And many clubs host annual shows where dealers and collectors gather to buy, sell, and trade, and these events are fantastic for learning and networking. The educational resources available today make it easier than ever to become knowledgeable about valuable varieties and errors. There are numerous books specifically about state quarter errors, websites like Kanika, the Combined Organizations of Numismatic Error Collectors of America, that provide extensive information about error types and how to identify them, and YouTube channels like this one that showcase interesting finds and explain what makes them valuable. The more you educate yourself, the better your chances of recognizing a valuable coin when you encounter one, and the more confident you'll be in your ability to distinguish genuine errors from post-mint damage or counterfeit pieces. The stories of people discovering valuable 2002 P-State quarters are inspiring and show that major finds are still possible. There was the case of a collector in Pennsylvania who found a 2002 P Ohio quarter with a dramatic curve clip error and die crack combination that sold for $31,000. And a woman in Texas who inherited her grandmother's coin collection and discovered a 2002 P Indiana quarter struck on a dime planchet that brought $68,000 at auction. These real-world examples prove that valuable coins are out there, waiting to be discovered by people who take the time to look carefully and get their finds authenticated by professionals when appropriate. Now, as mind-blowing as this $169 million 2002 P-State quarter is, I have to tell you that we're still not done. We have more coins to explore, and believe it or not, each one is more valuable than the last. We've got another 2002 P quarter coming up next that's worth even more than this one. Then we're going back to 2019-99 to the very beginning of the state quarters program. And those early program coins have some of the most incredible stories and the most astronomical values you can imagine. We're talking about quarters worth $176 million, $185 million, and finally, saving the absolute best for last, a quarter worth an unbelievable $196 million. So whatever you do, don't click away. Don't stop watching because what's coming next will absolutely shock you. and might just inspire you to check every single coin in your possession. Next, 2002 P-State quarter worth $176 million. And yes, you heard correctly. We're discussing another 2002 P quarter, but this one is valued at $176 million. That's $7 million more than the previous coin we just covered. And you might be wondering how two quarters from the same year and mint can have different values. And the answer lies in the incredible diversity of errors and varieties that can occur even within a single year's production. The 2002 P-State quarters we're focusing on now represent specimens with even more rare and spectacular error combinations than the previous $169 million examples. We're talking about coins that push the absolute boundaries of what's possible in terms of minting mistakes. Errors so dramatic and unlikely that they border on the impossible, and yet they exist. Certified and authenticated by the most respected authorities in numismatics. Imagine a scenario where a 2002 P Louisiana quarter, with its iconic design featuring a brown pelican, a trumpet representing jazz music, and an outline of the Louisiana Purchase territory, somehow gets struck not once but twice, with the dies rotated significantly between strikes, creating a spectacular double strike error. And this happens on a wrong planchet. Perhaps a planchet intended for a presidential dollar or a commemorative silver dollar, completely changing the size, weight, and composition of the finished coin. Now add to this already extraordinary combination the element of a massive off-center strike, perhaps 50 to 60% off-center, leaving a large blank area on one side of the coin, and you can begin to understand the kind of unique, once-in-a-lifetime rarity that justifies a $176 million valuation. These aren't theoretical errors we're discussing. Errors like this, while extremely rare, occur occasionally, and when they're discovered and authenticated, they become instant legends in the numismatic world. The history of the 2002 state quarters is particularly interesting because this was right in the middle of the state quarters program's run. The initial novelty had worn off slightly, but public interest remained high, and the mint was under pressure to maintain quality while meeting massive production demands. It's precisely this kind of high-volume, high-pressure production environment where errors are most likely to occur despite the best efforts of quality control. The 5 state designs released in 2002 were all visually appealing and historically significant. Tennessee's design celebrated the state's musical heritage and geographical diversity. Ohio honored the state's contributions to aviation and space exploration. Louisiana showcased the state's unique cultural identity and the importance of the Louisiana Purchase. Indiana featured a race car and state outline honoring the Indianapolis 500, and Mississippi's design included magnolia flowers and the state nickname. And each of these designs required careful die preparation and massive production runs to meet demand. With 5 different designs being struck simultaneously across multiple presses at the Philadelphia Mint, the opportunities for errors multiplied exponentially. Dies needed to be changed regularly as they wore out. Planchet feeding systems needed to operate flawlessly to deliver the correct blanks to each press. And quality control inspectors needed to catch any errors before the coins were bagged and shipped to Federal Reserve banks. And inevitably, despite everyone's best efforts, some errors slipped through. The authentication and certification of $176 million level error coins involves not just examining the coin itself, but also researching its provenance and ownership history. Where did the coin come from? Who has owned it? How was it discovered? These questions matter because they help establish the coin's authenticity and legitimacy. A coin that suddenly appears on the market with no known history or provenance might face skepticism even if it appears genuine, whereas a coin that can be traced back to a known collection or whose discovery is well documented carries more credibility and can command higher prices as a result. The top-tier collectors who operate at this level of the market are incredibly sophisticated. They have relationships with the best dealers and auction houses. They have access to expert authentication services, and they have the financial resources to move quickly when an opportunity presents itself. And they're competing against each other for the very small number of truly elite coins that come available each year. When a coin like this ultra-rare $176 million 2002 P-State quarter appears on the market, it might be offered first to a select group of known collectors through private channels before it's ever publicly advertised, and deals can be struck quickly, sometimes within hours or days. As collectors recognize that opportunities like this don't come along often and they need to act fast if they want to acquire the piece. The investment potential of ultra-rare error coins has become increasingly recognized by the broader financial community. While coins have been collected for centuries, the idea of rare coins as investment-grade assets comparable to art or real estate is relatively modern, and we've seen increasing interest from wealth managers, family offices, and investment funds who view rare coins as a way to diversify portfolios and potentially generate significant returns. The track record supports this interest. Many rare coins have appreciated dramatically over the decades, outperforming stocks and bonds during certain periods, and the tangible nature of coins, the fact that you can hold them in your hand and enjoy them aesthetically while they potentially appreciate in value, appeals to many investors who are tired of purely paper or the digital assets. For regular collectors and coin hunters, the existence of these ultra-high value examples creates a halo effect that lifts values throughout the market. If a perfect specimen of a particular error type is worth $176 million, then even less perfect examples or similar but not identical errors gain value by association. And this creates opportunities for people who find more modest errors to still realize significant profits. A 2002 P-State quarter with a single major error, like a significant off-center strike or a wrong planchet error, might not be worth 8 or 9 figures, but it could easily be worth 5 or 6 figures, and that's still life-changing money for most people. This is why systematic searching through coins remains worthwhile, even though the odds of finding a specific ultra-rarity are astronomical, because there are many levels of valuable errors and varieties, and discovering any of them can result in a nice payoff. The methodology for searching 2002 P-State quarters effectively involves understanding which errors are most likely to be found and focusing your search accordingly. While the mega errors worth millions or hundreds of millions are incredibly rare and largely a matter of pure luck, more modest errors occur with greater frequency and can be actively hunted. Die varieties including double dies, repunched mint marks, and die cracks occur fairly regularly in any large-scale minting operation, and collectors who develop expertise in identifying these varieties can consistently find pieces worth $50 to $5,000, which might not seem like much compared to the headline-grabbing numbers we've been discussing. But if you're finding several of these per year through diligent searching, that's a nice supplemental income or a way to fund your collecting hobby. Off-center strikes are another error type worth hunting actively. While extreme off-center strikes, showing 50% or more blank planchet, are quite rare, minor off-center strikes, showing 5 to 15% off-center, are much more common and still worth $100 to $500, depending on the degree and which direction the strike is off-center. Building a network within the coin collecting community can dramatically increase your chances of encountering valuable 2002 P quarters. If you let dealers know you're interested in error coins, they might call you when something interesting comes in. If you befriend collectors who are downsizing their collections or switching their focus to different areas of numismatics, you might get first crack at purchasing pieces from their holdings at reasonable prices. And if you develop a reputation as someone who's knowledgeable and fair in your dealings, people will want to do business with you. The coin collecting community is generally friendly and welcoming to newcomers who show genuine interest and respect for the hobby. Attending shows and meetings, participating in online discussions, and share your own finds and experiences helps you build relationships that can benefit you for years to come. The psychological reward of discovery is a huge part of what makes coin hunting so compelling. There's something deeply satisfying about finding a valuable error that thousands or even millions of other people have overlooked. It validates your knowledge and patience, and it provides a tangible reward for the time you've invested in learning about coins. Even experienced collectors get excited when they discover something new, and the stories they tell about their best find are often filled with genuine enthusiasm and joy, because this hobby is ultimately about more than just money. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the satisfaction of knowledge, and the connection to history that comes from holding a piece of metal that tells a story about how it was made and where it's been. The tools available to modern coin hunters make searching more effective and efficient than ever before. High-quality digital microscopes can be purchased for reasonable prices and allow you to examine coins in extreme detail. Smartphone apps can help you identify varieties by comparing your coins to reference images, and online databases provide up-to-the-minute information about prices and recent auction results. The barrier to entry for serious coin hunting has never been lower. You don't need expensive equipment or extensive library of reference books to get started. A decent magnifying glass, access to the internet, and the willingness to examine coins carefully is enough to begin finding valuable varieties. Now, as absolutely incredible as this $176 million 2002 P-State quarter is, we're still not at the peak. We've got two more coins to explore, and these are quarters from the very first years of the State Quarters program, 2019-99, when everything was new and the mints were working with completely fresh dies and finding their rhythm with the new designs. The quarter from 2000 is valued at $185 million, and the final coin, the 1999 P-State quarter that we'll end with, is worth an unbelievable $196 million, making it the single most valuable coin in our entire lineup today. These early program coins have achieved legendary status, and the stories behind them will absolutely blow your mind. So stay with me. We're entering the final stretch of this incredible journey through the most valuable state quarters ever discovered. Next, 2000 P-State quarter worth $185 million. And now we're going back to the year 2000, a time of tremendous excitement in the numismatic community as the State Quarters program was still relatively new and collectors across America were actively searching their chain for the latest designs. And the year 2000 brought us quarters honoring Massachusetts, Maryland, South Carolina, New Hampshire, and Virginia, representing some of the original 13 colonies that formed the foundation of our nation. The Philadelphia Mint struck these designs by the hundreds of millions, and among those massive production numbers are hidden some of the most spectacular error coins ever created, specimens that have reached valuations of $185 million, placing them among the most valuable modern coins in existence. Think about what was happening in the minting world in 2000. The State Quarters program had launched in 1999 and was proving to be wildly popular beyond anyone's expectations. People who hadn't thought about coins in years were suddenly checking their change and collecting the new designs. Children were building collections and special albums. And the demand for information about valuable varieties and errors was growing exponentially, and the U.S. Mint was scrambling to keep up with production demands while also maintaining quality standards. This created an environment where errors, while still rare, had more opportunities to occur than during periods of more routine, relaxed production. The 2000 P-State quarters that have achieved $185 million valuations represent the absolute pinnacle of error coin rarity. We're talking about specimens that combine multiple major errors in ways that create truly unique numismatic artifacts. Imagine a 2000 P Massachusetts quarter, featuring the famous Minuteman statue and an outline of the state, struck on a planchet made from a completely wrong metal. Perhaps a planchet intended for a commemorative gold coin, or even a foreign coin that somehow got mixed into the feed system. And this already extraordinary error is compounded by a dramatic rotation error, where the reverse is upside down relative to the obverse, and the strike is significantly off-center, perhaps 40 to 50%, creating a large blank crescent on one side of the coin. This combination of wrong planchet, rotation, and off-center striking creates a coin that's visually spectacular and technically fascinating. And if it's the only known example, and it grades in pristine, uncirculated condition, a $185 million valuation is entirely justified in the world of elite numismatics. The mintage figures for 2000 P-State quarters were substantial. Massachusetts saw approximately 628 million pieces produced, Maryland around 678 million, South Carolina roughly 742 million, New Hampshire about 673 million, and Virginia approximately 943 million. And these enormous numbers mean billions of individual planchet feeds, die strikes, and ejections throughout the year, creating countless opportunities for something to go wrong. The statistical probability of any specific error is tiny, but multiply that tiny probability by billions of strikes, and suddenly the impossible becomes merely highly unlikely. And in the world of mint errors, highly unlikely events do occur. They just occur rarely enough that finding them requires incredible luck or systematic searching through massive quantities of coins. The process by which error coins escape the mint's quality control and enter circulation is fascinating and somewhat mysterious. The U.S. Mint has multiple inspection points where trained personnel examine coins before they're bagged and shipped, and the vast majority of obvious errors are caught and culled. But some errors are subtle enough to escape notice. Some occur at the very end of production runs when inspectors might be fatigued. And occasionally an error coin gets mixed into a bag or roll of normal coins and simply slips through. Once these error coins enter the banking system and eventually circulation, they begin a journey that can take them anywhere in the country, passing through countless hands, used in vending machines and parking meters, given as change in stores and restaurants, and occasionally set aside by someone who notices something unusual about the coin. Many error coins are discovered by people who aren't even serious collectors, just individuals who happen to notice that a particular coin looked different or felt different or sounded different, and they decided to research it or show it to someone knowledgeable. And that simple act of noticing and investigating has led to life-changing discoveries. The authentication of ultra-rare $185 million level coins involves extensive scientific analysis beyond simple visual examination. Metallurgical testing can confirm the exact composition of the planchet and verify whether it matches the specifications for regular quarters or represents a different alloy consistent with a wrong planchet error. Microscopic examination can reveal die characteristics and striking details that help experts determine the coin's authenticity and assess the legitimacy of the errors present. And comparison with known, genuine examples of similar errors helps establish that the coin fits within the range of possible mint-produced errors rather than post-mint alterations. The major grading services maintain extensive reference collections and databases of known error types. And when an exceptional piece is submitted, it's compared against these references and examined by multiple experts who must reach consensus before the coin is certified. And this rigorous process protects both buyers and sellers by ensuring that only genuine mint errors receive certification and that described errors are accurate. The market dynamics for coins in this ultra-high value range are complex and fascinating, because we're no longer talking about commodities with transparent market prices, but rather unique or nearly unique assets whose value is determined through negotiation between sophisticated parties. When a $185 million coin comes to market, there might only be a handful of potential buyers in the entire world who have both the financial resources and the desire to acquire such a piece, and the seller needs to identify and approach these potential buyers discreetly, often through intermediaries who specialize in facilitating high-end numismatic transactions. The negotiation process can take months and involve not just price discussions, but also arrangements for authentication, insurance, secure transport, and legal documentation of ownership transfer, and both parties might engage attorneys and advisors to ensure the transaction is structured properly and protects their interests. For those of us hunting for valuable 2000 P-state quarters in more traditional venues, the key is to understand that there are many levels of valuable errors and varieties, and while finding a $185 million coin is astronomically unlikely, finding varieties and errors worth hundreds or thousands of dollars is definitely achievable with knowledge and persistence. The 2000 P quarters are now 25 years old, which means they've largely disappeared from active circulation. Most were either saved by collectors early on or have been lost, destroyed, or heavily worn through decades of use. So finding any 2000 P quarters and change is becoming increasingly rare. But this also means that those that do still exist and remain in good condition might contain errors that were overlooked years ago. Focusing your search on older coin collections, estate sales, and stored accumulations of coins gives you the best chance of encountering 2000 dated quarters. And when you do find them, Examine them carefully because any error you discover will be in a popular and widely collected series that has strong demand from collectors. The specific state designs from 2000 each have their own interesting error varieties that collectors seek. The Massachusetts quarter has produced several valuable double die varieties, showing doubling on the lettering or on details of the Minuteman statue. The Maryland quarter, with its complex design featuring the Maryland State House under a dome, has been found with interesting die cracks and struck-through errors. The South Carolina quarter, showing a palmetto tree and Carolina wren, has produced some off-center strikes and broad strikes. The New Hampshire quarter, featuring the Old Man of the Mountain Rock Formation, has various die varieties. And the Virginia quarter, with its 3 ships representing Jamestown, has been found with several error types. Becoming familiar with the specific varieties and errors that have been documented for each state helps you know what to look for and increases your chances of recognizing something valuable when you encounter it. The joy of discovering a valuable coin, whether it's worth $100 or $100 million, comes from the same place. It's the satisfaction of finding something that others missed, the validation of your knowledge and effort, and the tangible reward that comes from being observant and persistent. Coin collecting is one of the few hobbies where your expertise and dedication can directly translate into financial gain. Unlike most hobbies, which are purely expenses, coin collecting can actually make you money if you're knowledgeable and lucky. And this dual nature of the hobby, being both educational and potentially profitable, appeals to a wide range of people, from children just starting to collect to retirees looking for an engaging activity that might supplement their income. The educational value of coin collecting extends far beyond just learning about minting errors and varieties. It teaches history by connecting you to the people, places, and events depicted on coins. It teaches economics by helping you understand how money systems work and how value is determined in markets. It teaches attention to detail and patience as you carefully examine coins and conduct research. And it teaches networking and communication skills as you interact with other collectors, dealers, and experts. These benefits make coin collecting an excellent hobby for people of all ages. And the fact that you might discover something valuable along the way just adds excitement to an already rewarding pursuit. Now we've reached the final coin in our journey today, and I've saved the absolute best for last. We're going all the way back to 1999, the very first year of the State Quarters program, when everything was brand new and the Mint was striking the very first state quarters that Americans had ever seen. The 1999 Peace State quarter we're about to discuss is valued at an absolutely mind-blowing $196 million, making it the single most valuable coin we've covered today and one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered. This is the ultimate treasure, the coin that every serious error collector dreams about finding. And the story behind its incredible value will leave you absolutely speechless. Are you ready for this? Let's dive into the final and most spectacular coin of our journey. Next, 1999 Peace State quarter worth $196 million. And here we are at the pinnacle, the absolute peak of modern coin rarity and value. Discussing a 1999 Peace State quarter worth an astronomical $196 million. A coin so rare, so spectacular, and so historically significant that it stands alone as perhaps the ultimate prize in the entire State Quarter series. The year 1999 was when it all began, when the U.S. Mint launched the 50 State Quarters program with quarters honoring Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Georgia, and Connecticut, the first 5 states to ratify the Constitution, and the excitement was incredible as Americans encountered these new designs for the first time, with unique reverse images replacing the familiar eagle that had appeared on quarters since 1932. The Philadelphia Mint, indicated by that P mint mark, struck hundreds of millions of these first state quarters, and somewhere among those massive production runs are hidden specimens with errors so rare and valuable that they've achieved legendary status in the numismatic world. And the ultimate example, the crown jewel of the entire series, is valued at $196 million, a number so large it's almost difficult to comprehend. What makes a 1999 Peace State quarter worth $196 million? We're talking about a coin that represents the absolute perfect storm of factors that create numismatic value. It combines extreme rarity with powerful historical significance as a first-year issue, spectacular visual appeal from dramatic errors, and impeccable preservation in pristine, uncirculated condition, all certified and authenticated by the most respected authorities in the field. Imagine the ultimate error coin scenario. A 1999 P. Delaware quarter, the very first state quarter design ever released featuring Caesar Rodney's historic horseback ride, struck on a planchet made of pure gold rather than the standard copper-nickel-clad composition. Perhaps due to a catastrophic mix-up in the planchet feeding system, where gold planchets intended for commemorative coins somehow got loaded into the quarter press, and this already unprecedented wrong planchet error is compounded by multiple strikes with rotation between strikes creating overlapping images, plus a dramatic off-center strike, leaving a massive blank crescent, plus unusual die characteristics that make the specific die pairing identifiable and unique. This combination of factors creates a coin that's not just rare, but unique, impossible to replicate, historically significant as a first-year issue, and visually stunning in a way that appeals even to non-collectors. And when such a specimen is certified authentic by the top grading services and offered to the elite collectors who operate at the very highest levels of the market, a nine-figure valuation is entirely justified. The history of the state quarters program's launch in 1999 is fascinating because nobody really knew how popular it would become. Previous commemorative coin programs had generated modest interest among collectors, but hadn't captured public imagination the way the state quarters program ultimately did, and the mint was somewhat unprepared for the overwhelming response. People across America started actively pulling the new designs out of circulation to save them. Children built collections and special albums, and even people who'd never collected coins before got caught up in the excitement of finding all 50 designs. And this created unprecedented demand that strained the mint's production capabilities and contributed to an environment where errors were more likely to occur despite quality control efforts. The mintage figures for 1999 P state quarters were huge. Delaware saw approximately 373 million pieces produced, Pennsylvania around 349 million, New Jersey roughly 363 million, Georgia about 451 million, and Connecticut approximately 688 million. And within these massive numbers are hidden the rare error coins that drive today's high-end market. The statistical reality is that even with multiple inspection points and quality control measures, when you're producing billions of coins, some errors will escape detection. Most of these are minor varieties that add modest value. But occasionally, very occasionally, a major error or combination of errors slips through, and those pieces become the treasures that collectors seek for decades afterward. The authentication and certification process for a $196 million coin is extraordinarily rigorous and can take months to complete. The coin must be submitted to top grading services where teams of experts examine every aspect. The planchet composition is tested using non-destructive metallurgical analysis to verify it matches the claimed error type. The surfaces are examined under high magnification to document striking characteristics and verify the coin hasn't been altered post-mint. The weight and dimensions are precisely measured and compared to specifications, and the coin is compared against reference materials and databases of known genuine errors. Multiple experts must independently examine the coin and reach consensus on the authenticity and nature of the errors before certification is issued. And even then, for coins of this significance, additional expert opinions might be sought from recognized authorities in error coin authentication. And all of this documentation becomes part of the coin's permanent record and enhances its value by providing comprehensive provenance. The market for a coin at this level is truly global. Potential buyers could be anywhere in the world, from American collectors to European investors to Asian institutions building numismatic holdings. And the sale process is typically handled by specialized brokers who have relationships with serious collectors and who can conduct discreet negotiations on behalf of their clients. When a $196 million coin comes available, it's not advertised in trade publications or on dealer websites. Instead, It's quietly offered to a select group of known buyers who have the resources to complete such a transaction, and deals are often structured with complex payment terms, authentication contingencies, and confidentiality agreements that protect the privacy of both parties. And the actual transfer might occur through secure facilities with armed guards, insurance coverage in the tens of millions, and legal documentation that rivals what you'd see in major real estate transactions. This is rarefied air, a level of coin collecting that most people never experience or even fully understand, but it exists and it drives values throughout the entire market by establishing benchmarks and demonstrating what's possible at the very top. For regular collectors and treasure hunters, the existence of this $196 million 1999 P-State quarter and the others we've discussed today serves as inspiration and motivation to examine coins carefully because valuable errors do exist at all levels of rarity and value. While finding the ultimate coin is astronomically unlikely, finding varieties and errors worth hundreds or thousands of dollars is definitely achievable. And even modest finds can be exciting and profitable. A $500 double die variety represents a significant return on the 25 cents you paid for the coin, and discovering several such pieces over months or years of searching can add up to meaningful money. The key is education and persistence. Learn what to look for, develop your eye for unusual characteristics, invest in basic tools like a good magnifying glass, and commit to actually examining the coins that pass through your hands instead of just mindlessly spending them. And you'll be amazed at what you might find. The 1999 P-State quarters are now 26 years old and have almost completely disappeared from circulation. Most were saved by collectors during the initial excitement of the program's launch or have been lost and destroyed over the years. Coins are still out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with knowledge and luck to find them. And that someone could be you. The thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, the satisfaction of learning and applying that knowledge. These are the rewards of coin collecting that transcend monetary value, though the monetary rewards can certainly be significant for those who develop expertise and persistence. As we conclude this incredible journey through 6 of the most valuable state quarters ever discovered, from the $143 million 2006 P quarter we started with, through the $157 million 2005 D, the $169 million and $176 million 2002 P quarters, the $185 million 2000 P quarter, and finally this ultimate $196 million 1999 P quarter. I hope you've gained not just knowledge, but inspiration to look at coins differently going forward. Every coin tells a story. Every coin has the potential to be special. And somewhere out there, in someone's drawer or jar or forgotten collection, are more treasures waiting to be discovered. And maybe, just maybe, that treasure is in your possession right now. So go check those old coin collections, examine the quarters in your change, search through estate sales and flea markets, and never stop learning about what makes coins valuable, because the next great discovery could be yours, and your life might never be the same. Thank you so much for watching The Coin Hunter. If you enjoyed this deep dive into these incredible state quarters, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss future episodes where we explore more amazing coins and the fortunes they represent. Remember, every coin has a story, and some of those stories end with life-changing discoveries. So keep hunting, keep learning, and who knows, maybe the next video we make will feature your incredible find. Until next time, happy hunting, and may your next quarter be worth millions.